Bachelors Grove Cemetery in Midlothian, Illinois is said to be one of the most haunted burial grounds in the Midwest. The secluded cemetery has become a magnet for those seeking to explore the supernatural, with numerous reports of unexplained sightings dating back decades. Eyewitness accounts of mysterious light anomalies and full-body apparitions are well documented and have occurred in the cemetery at night and also during the day. Most of the paranormal activity began in the 1960s when vandals started destroying headstones and digging up graves. In this video, I delve into the dark history and paranormal events surrounding Bachelors Grove. I also share the story of my strange encounter from when I visited the cemetery at night over 20 years ago. The crumbling path that leads to Bachelors Grove Cemetery was once an Indian trail and later a road that became part of the old Midlothian Turnpike. The historic road closed to the public decades ago, but in the early days of its existence, the road continued past the cemetery all the way through the grove surrounding it. Bachelors Grove is an old settlement that dates all the way back to the late 1820s when the first settlers arrived from New England and Europe to stake a claim on the land. One of the early settlers to arrive in the 1830s was Stephen Rexford, one of many bachelor men who made the grove their home. Rexford claimed to have named the grove after the single men who lived there, but records show that many spelling variations of the name existed prior to Rexford's arrival. The origins of the name are debatable, but historians believe the grove was likely named after the Batchelder family, who were prominent settlers in the area. Many of the area's early families and settlers are buried in Bachelors Grove Cemetery, which was known as Everden Cemetery until the property was sold to a new owner in 1864. Bachelors Grove is one of the oldest cemeteries in Cook County. The cemetery includes 82 lots with 127 confirmed burials, although many of the plots were never used and remain empty. The oldest burial on record is William Noble's, who died in 1838, but some historians believe burials likely occurred even earlier than that. Many years ago, old-timers recalled seeing a curve-shaped stone with a burial date of 1832 inscribed on it. If the stone existed, it was likely destroyed or stolen like so many others. After a dark period of vandalism and desecration, many families moved their buried relatives to other cemeteries. The last two people buried in the cemetery were Laura McGee in 1965 and the cremated remains of Robert Shields in 1989. The gravestones from the last two burials are still intact, but most of the older stones from the 1800s have either been stolen, destroyed, or knocked over. Bachelors Grove is said to be one of the most haunted cemeteries in the Midwest. Countless reports of ghost sightings and eerie paranormal events have occurred in the cemetery and surrounding forest for decades. People have witnessed full-body apparitions, light anomalies, shadow figures, and disembodied voices in recordings. It is unknown exactly when the paranormal activity began, but the earliest reports on record date back to the 1950s and continue to this day. One of the most well-known ghost sightings witnessed by many people is the Woman in White, or the Madonna of Bachelors Grove. The first known sighting of the Woman in White occurred in 1979 when a paranormal group reported seeing and allegedly recording the apparition of a robed woman in the cemetery carrying a baby in her arms. Sightings of the apparition continued all the way into the 1990s when an eerie image was captured during a photo shoot at the cemetery. This incredible photo was taken in 1991 by paranormal investigator Judy Huff and shows a woman in white sitting on a gravestone near the cemetery's entrance. The apparition wasn't seen or heard when the picture was taken and only appeared after the film was developed. Although the photo has been ridiculed by skeptics, reputable photographers have examined the film negative and consider the photo to be genuine. If the photo is real, it could be one of the most convincing images of a ghost ever caught on film. No one knows the identity of the mysterious woman in white, but some people theorize it's the ghost of Luella Fulton Rogers, who lost her life in a hit-and-run accident in 1944 and was buried in the Fulton plot next to the infant daughter grave. For years, it was believed the infant buried next to Luella was her daughter, which lends credit to the ghost sightings of a woman carrying a baby, but records later revealed that the baby buried beside Luella was not her child. It should also be noted that the infant daughter gravestone is actually from another grave and not the original. The original infant daughter stone was stolen and recovered years later. The stone is on display in a glass case at the Tinley Park Historical Society. Another theory is that the ghost in the 1991 photo is Amelia Patrick Humphrey, whose 11-month-old baby Libby May and two adult sisters are buried beneath the Patrick stone. Amelia herself isn't buried in the cemetery, but people have theorized the ghost is Amelia protecting her first child, Libby. Floating orbs of light are one of the most common and unexplained sightings in the cemetery and surrounding forest. Reports of glowing blue orbs in the cemetery began in the 1960s and are still seen to this day. I personally witnessed 2 floating orbs on the trail by the creek when I visited the cemetery at night many years ago. The glowing orbs we saw were white, but people have also seen blue, red, and orange-colored orbs. These strange lights have been seen hovering through the cemetery and forest many times and usually only last a matter of seconds before vanishing. Many motorists have witnessed the orbs at night when driving past the cemetery on 143rd Street. Local police have also told stories about following the lights into the woods only to watch them vanish. Another bizarre sighting witnessed by multiple people since the 1960s is the Phantom Farmhouse. People who have seen the house have described it as a white 2-story Victorian farmhouse with a soft glowing light. Many people who see the mysterious house are convinced it's real, but when they try to approach it, the house fades like a mirage until it's gone. Sightings of the vanishing house have occurred on both sides of the creek and even within the cemetery itself, but most of the sightings have taken place in the forest at night. Many people believe the ghostly image is a real home that once stood in the grove. Remnants of cellar holes and old house foundations have been found in the woods around the cemetery. It is also known that an old white farmhouse did once stand near the cemetery on the west side of the creek. The murky pond next to the cemetery, which was once a rock quarry, is associated with some of the ghost sightings and legends of Bachelors Grove. One of the oldest legends claims that Al Capone used the secluded pond as a dump for his victims. However, there is no evidence to support the story, and no bodies have ever been found in the water. It is also worth noting that the road and bridge next to the pond did not exist during the era of Al Capone. The only way to access the pond at that time would have been from the road leading to the cemetery. Although possible, it's unlikely gangsters would have parked on the road and carried bodies all the way through the public cemetery to the pond. Another old legend involving the pond is the ghost of a farmer who is said to have drowned while operating a horse-drawn plow in the 1870s. The legend says the man was plowing land near the water when the horse became frightened by something and bolted into the pond, pulling the plow and farmer to the bottom. In the 1970s, 2 law enforcement officers patrolling the cemetery at night allegedly saw the apparition of the man and horse plow emerge from the water. There have also been similar ghost sightings near the pond over the years, but records of the 1870s drowning incident of the man and the horse cannot be confirmed. What caused the haunting is unknown, but many people theorize the unspeakable acts of vandalism in the cemetery are to blame. Desecration of the cemetery goes as far back as the early 1950s. In 1952, at least 10 granite headstones were pushed over. Then again in 1958, several small headstones were pulled out of the ground and thrown about the cemetery. Many of those stones were destroyed or severely damaged beyond repair. The desecration worsened in the 1960s when the road officially closed, leaving the cemetery secluded and more vulnerable to vandalism. In the 1960s and 1970s, multiple graves were spray-painted and some were even dug up in attempted grave robberies. This picture shows spray-painted headstones and a dug-up gravesite being used as a garbage dump. More than one grave has been disturbed or vandalized, like the one in the picture, forcing some families to move their loved ones to other cemeteries. Some of the paranormal activity could also be due to tragic events that happened right outside the cemetery's gates. In the 1950s, the area where the old road crosses the creek was the site of a fatal auto accident. One night, a driver decided to take the road as a shortcut but was unaware the bridge was out. The car flew off the road and plunged into 5 feet of water. The driver and 2 out of the 3 passengers survived, but unfortunately, the one passenger who suggested taking the road as a shortcut drowned during the accident. Another tragic event occurred 30 years later, when in 1989 the body of a 43-year-old man was found by police at the cemetery's entrance. The man had been shot twice and died at the scene. The investigation revealed the man was shot by his 20-year-old girlfriend out of self-defense after he threatened her life. The woman was released from jail after the shooting. One of the scariest haunted places I've ever gone to at night was Bachelors Grove Cemetery. I went there over 20 years ago in the middle of the night with 2 friends, and we had a creepy experience on the trail that runs next to the creek in the woods by the cemetery. And I'm going to tell my story, but before I get into it, I do want to mention that the woods in the cemetery are closed after dark, and if the cops catch you in there after dark, they'll likely arrest you for trespassing, so definitely don't want to go there at night. We're lucky we didn't get caught, and we shouldn't have gone there at night, but this was a long time ago, and I don't think it was patrolled as much as it is now, but the cops go in there all the time now, and they'll bust you if they catch you there at night, so don't do it. But let's get into my story. So this was early 2000s. It was October. It was past midnight, and we decided to check this place out at night. None of us had ever been there at night. They had never gone there at all. So it was a totally new experience for them. So we made the long drive down there and walked to the trail, and we came in, we took the long trail through the woods all the way by the creek. And I remember stepping into the woods for the first time in the middle of the night, and this place was so scary. It was really dark. There was no wind that night. I remember it was really calm, and which made it more creepy because you could hear every little sound in the woods, and it was probably, I'd say, up there with the Rainbow Road story I told as far as like how dark and scary this place was at night. We did have a flashlight, but we didn't really use it a lot because we didn't want anyone to know we were there. We didn't want to get in trouble, so we were mostly walking in the dark. And minutes walking in there, within minutes we already started hearing noises all around us in the woods. We started hearing like knocking sounds on the trees, which sounded like someone knocking, knocking on a door, sort of a sound on the trees all around us as we were walking. It wasn't like one or two trees. It was like as the whole time we were walking on the trail towards the cemetery, we were hearing these strange noises, and it got to the point to where we kept stopping every few minutes, what is that? It was so bizarre, and my one friend was getting really freaked out by it, and he wanted to get out of there. I mean, he didn't even want to go in there. Even when we first walked into the trail, he was like, I don't know if this is a good idea, and then we had to keep, talking him into it. So we just kept walking, and eventually we stumbled upon the cemetery, and there was a bunch of people in there, ghost hunters taking pictures and stuff. So we walked around, and they told us some ghost stories, and one guy showed us some of their camera footage from some orbs and mist and stuff they had captured on film, which is kind of cool. And we didn't have any experiences or see anything in the cemetery at all. We walked around for a little while, and then we decided to make our way out of there and head back. So we went back on the trail that we came in on and started making our way back towards the car. And it was maybe like halfway into the woods, and it was by the creek. And on the other side of the creek, as we were walking, all three of us witnessed a glowing white orb come up from the ground, shoot up into the air, and then in a perfect arch, and come back down and hit the ground and vanish. Just shot straight up, came back down, hit the ground, and was gone. And we all froze, and we couldn't believe what we just saw. We all looked at each other in disbelief, oh my God, did you just see that? Trying to come up, find an explanation for what that could be. At first we thought maybe somebody was on the other side of the creek with a flashlight messing around or something, but we stood there and we looked and we couldn't see anybody. There was nobody there. It was really quiet, and there was no more light. The light had just completely and totally vanished. And it wasn't a bug because it was October. This was the size of a baseball. It wasn't a firefly because it was white. It wasn't yellow. And, there's no really other explanation for what it could have been. So we were really freaked out. And we sat there for a while and to see if it would happen again in that same spot, and it didn't. So we decided to make our way, continue down the trail. So that's what we did. And I don't know, maybe a few minutes later, we decided to stop and just listen and see if we could hear anything in the woods, or, we're kind of just looking through the darkness of the forest to see if we could see any more lights or anything. And we were kind of all in a circle, facing each other. And out of nowhere, another one of those orbs came up from the forest floor and came up all between all three of us and shot up, I'd say probably to face level, and vanished. And this one didn't last as long as the one that we saw on the other side of the creek. This one was like maybe half the time as the other one. It was really fast and it was gone really quickly, but it was there long enough for all of us to see it. We all saw it at the same time, and we kind of jumped back and all looked at each other, and, you know, made eye contact like, you know, oh my God, here it just happened again. Like, what is this? And at that point, my one friend that was already pretty freaked out, he wanted to get out of there. He's like, I'm done. I'm not doing this anymore. He's like, this is a bad idea. I want to get out of here. So we all agreed that it was probably best that we leave before, you know, maybe something gets worse or who knows. So we decided to leave. So we started booking it out of there, and we didn't hear any more of the weird noises in the woods. We didn't see any more orbs. It was just those 2 orbs, and that was it. That was the end of it. But that was my experience, and I consider it a paranormal experience. It was probably one of the only, other than my Rainbow Road experience, where I heard the terrifying scream. But that was a sound I heard. This was visual. I saw it with my own eyes. And I consider this to be a paranormal experience, and I really believe that this place is haunted. There's something special about it. It's a unique place, but for me, it's the woods and not the cemetery. I've never had anything weird happen in the cemetery when I've been there. I know a lot of people have, but anyways, I just wanted to share my story. So if you have a story, if you've ever been to the Grove and, you know, saw one of these orbs or a ghost or anything, and you want to share it, drop a comment below. Let me know about it. But that's going to do it for this video. I'll see you guys on the next one. Thanks for watching.